Hey everyone, welcome back. So today I'm going to be showing you a little bit of an update on my current project here. Now, typically what I do is I like to go through the parts, see what there is, but I figured this is pretty much a fairly mundane kit that is still around. So pretty much you can look for videos on your own if you're really interested in seeing what the parts are. But I know this is pretty much the same kit as the MPC version, but just with the AMT badging. So, without further ado, so this car here, I pretty much want the Plymouth GTX here. Pretty much want to do as a Pro Street or a dragster version. Now in the kit, it only tells you building it as this version here, but want to take my own steps to it, add my own characteristics. But a couple things that I like to note is that the decals or the stripes that are shown on the car and the rims, those aren't part of the kit. They're just there to make the kit look extravagant, but you don't get those. So, got some of it partially together. And kind of the big thing is that I've mentioned a couple days ago how I was thinking about putting a NASCAR engine into here. Well, with a little bit of modifications, I did get the engine in. And really, it actually went in fairly nicely. The only thing it needed was on the underside with the cross member that needed to be trimmed so that the engine would sit in nicely. Of course, I haven't glued it down as I'll have to paint everything up separately. So, it went in quite nicely. And then even with the air cleaner, let's see if I can get this to sit on nicely. So I have found I am able to get the hood to sit on quite nicely. Mm, something like that. The hood fits on quite nicely, even with a much bigger engine than what was supposed to be in the car, which I really like, as that means doesn't need to be modified at all, and when you look at it, can look fairly stock. And then on the underside as well, on these AMT MPC kits, there's typically a nub where you can adjust the ride height if you want to have a stock ride height or you want to lower the front. What I ended up doing was simply just cutting the nubs off to make it look more fresh. So when you look at it, you don't have a post sticking down, which you really wouldn't have on a real car. And then did go for the smooth dish rims. And then with the nubs, actually, these came in really handy because on the back here, the only wheel backs you get are these small ones, which you're supposed to use the stock tires for. They'll fit over, but I wanted to use these big meats that the kit comes with. So otherwise, so usually with the rim, with the tire on the rim would just go over. It'd just go over and then it would hang somewhere down inside. And I figured it didn't look very nice, and if anything, that just shows laziness. So all I pretty much did was I took those nubs, glued them onto the wheel backs, so that I can get this all painted up as one unit, glue the rim on, fit the tire over top, and then then there you go. You have it there. And then also found that with the fender wells, they're a bit too shallow for the actual, and a little bit too too shallow for the big rims or the big tires. So ended up deciding that just have the axles sit above. I'm going to be having the axles sit above so that I can have the rear differential go into the slots and then hold the axle into place. So in doing so, still gives a nice rake to it, so that instead of the car staying level, it will sit more upwards. Now, there's a bit of an exaggeration, but sure you understand what I mean. So there's that. Then let me just get everything's just loosely together so I have understanding on how it goes back together. So for the interior, I decided not. Was thinking about cutting the seats out and filling it in, but decided not to. But but in the kit, it does come with some custom seats. It does come with these custom seats that I'm definitely going to be using. And then does have a roll cage as well, which is definitely important to have on a race car. Now, the one thing that I am a little bit, I wouldn't say concerned about, but it's definitely something that might have to get trimmed or modified, is the firewall. As where the engine sits, it may get into the way. Plus, if I'm going to be having, then not sure if the exhaust system that I'm going to be using is going to interfere with anything. But I'm hoping it won't, so that when it comes to installing everything underneath, just have the exhaust run out, connect it up, then have this massive the exhaust pipe from the NASCAR come out the side. And now typically you wouldn't have this here, but this is just going to be painted black, so that, with imagination's sake, that this isn't actually here. So that's a bit unfortunate with the exhaust molded into the chassis, but you really can't do much about it besides cutting it out and then filling it in afterwards. Yeah, so it's pretty much that. One thing I did discover is that with the tires, you pretty much want to have the wheel back separate from the actual tire, because if you end up gluing I found that with these filled in tires, they're fairly stiff. So then with that, if you were to glue the wheels on and then try to slip tires over top, you're going to definitely wreck something. Because, let's see here, which one was it? Yeah, it was this one here, where I originally tried to get the the tire on, but ended up putting a lot of stress on here. So, just something to keep in mind if you get one of these older kits, as they do come with more stiff tires. So, pretty much that. And then, to go with it as well, the kit also has a Superbird wing, which is not exactly something that came with the car during the time, but it's more of a customization option. So, do have some injector pins that need to be filled in. So, what I'm thinking of doing is having it on the car, so that gives a little bit more aggressive look to it, a bit more of a custom hot rod to it actually. So there's that. Then of course going to have to get a few of the small pieces in, like got the front chin spoiler in, and then what else? So then a case of just separating some of the parts, just getting the rear bumper, front bumper in. Now, the kit does come. The engine the kit comes with is actually fairly nice, but of course not going to be actually using it. But size difference is actually quite similar between a 440 6-pack and whatever this NASCAR engine's supposed to be. So they're fairly close in size. We'll say that it is fairly detailed as well. Both engines, in fact, have a lot of detail. Now, on here, it's supposed to be a manual transmission, but unfortunately with the kit, how it's designed, it is an automatic console. I was originally thinking about getting the tube tunnel out of the 69 Torino kit to fill this in, but can't seem to find that. I have the part, but I can't seem to find where it is, so I'm not going to exactly bother with it for now. And if anything, I might just fill it in and then put a proper shifter in to make it look like it's a manual transmission car. So, it's pretty much that. Main thing. It's pretty much it for parts. And then, I have thought about it. I am going to end up using the decals, which are definitely an interesting choice when it comes to designs. But I can imagine with a bunch of these 2000s RC2 AMT Ertl kits, they did have some really weird graphics for the cars. So, I am thinking to go with the green and blue. I was originally thinking about doing a red paint scheme using these, but ended up changing my mind, and I'm thinking about going for a medium, a dark, or a light purple, just to go with the tone. So, that's pretty much, and then, of course, have the stripes around the side. So, that's pretty much the idea for the car. So, not a whole lot of modifications actually needed for the car, which I quite like, as it starts to build up really quickly. So, put everything back to. I'll probably put stuff back together later, but just want to do an update showing how much has come so far. I figured if I'm going to be working on a project, it's best idea to document it as well. So, that'll be it for this video, and see you next time.